But at the same time, I'm learning to be more sentimental recently. I'm learning that if you're not going to appreciate today and the constituents of that day, you're going to look back on it and wish that you had. Hello there, this is Celerity Dust with 10-minute talks, where I talk for 10 minutes and post whatever is usable. It probably was the right time for you to have started now. We have fantasies of meeting the people that we enjoy right now when we were younger. If I had only known you in high school or middle school, I would have had a friend then instead of eating alone at the table. Or if only I had started learning the skill these past couple of years or even before that. If only I had pushed myself during the pandemic in order to learn this or that instead of now when I'm completely occupied and I had time. There was this post about finding it in oneself to work, to do, to create, to learn a hobby. And on Twitter they said, the pandemic was one of the greatest experiments in human history because all the people who said, if I had time, I'd do this, finally had time. And how many of you actually did anything? So all of us, whether it be the 25-year-old thinker or the hands-full polymath, all wish that we could have taken advantage of time by now if we had started earlier. What would life have been like if I took things seriously in my youth, in my teens? If I had pushed myself to do this thing that I'm doing now much earlier? And aside of being entirely hypothetical, I think you neglect to see how much you have going on by virtue of things having gone the way they have. I think it's possible for us to forget how many small decisions and accidents and causal events bring us to where we are today, right? I recently celebrated 1,000 followers on Twitch. It was a really, really wonderful celebration. I got very, very drunk, and I'm still feeling it the morning after. But I can't help but feel as though I'm very, very happy to have been joined by the people I did. Yes, peers of mine coming on was really, really wonderful, but I think interestingly enough, seeing the chatters that turned out was really wonderful because they are people who would not have come up unless I had made certain decisions. If I had started this whole streaming, VTubing, etc. shtick before the advent of VTubing, I don't know what kind of audience I would have brought in. If I had done this 1,000 follower celebration before I had started making YouTube videos, I don't know what the turnout would have been or who would have been there. But ultimately, I was joined by this smattering of fantastic and wonderful viewers, chatters, and fans. And when I think about how I wish I could have done this earlier, if I could have started with the likes of Ironmouse at the start of the VTuber boom, I can't help but feel as though, yes, it could have done that, but the likelihood is I wouldn't have met many of you. And that's not me being too precious, right? Like, I think that to a certain degree, we can weigh objective numbers and results and success against the sentimental. But at the same time, I'm learning to be more sentimental recently. I'm learning that if you're not going to appreciate today and the constituents of that day, you're going to look back on it and wish that you had. While I'm growing, while I'm existing, these feelings of wishing I had done things differently or started differently are beginning to diminish, because ultimately, while things could have been different, things could have been very, very different, I think I've gotten quite attached to how things are now. Is that my being short-sighted, I need to ask? I wonder how many of you can apply this with something in your life. I mean, we're covered in regrets. To be human, one might say, is to err. And to err is to have regrets over how we erred, right? So, sure, we dropped the ball, we fumbled that baddie, and we Ohio'd when we had to Sigma. But I think the people who mentally live in a space that is not theirs, that is, people who live in fantasy, cannot appreciate at this point, at this moment right now, how all of their decisions brought them to where they are now. Would you go back in time to fix everything if it meant that you may not have ever met me? I can hear all of you pressing the button really hard. Yes, 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 yes. I think I'm healing, actually. I think I'm grateful that I started where I am. I can't help but think that however I ran it, however I spun it, whenever I started, so long as I am not grateful and excited, I will have regrets, right? If I had started streaming and video editing and doing all that stuff, if I tried working my media empire at 14, there's no promise of success. I would have had more time in the space in the game, but that's not to say necessarily that I haven't been smart with what I've been given now, and the same time would have passed. Not to quote my wall of note cards of things I'd like to remember again, but there's one that a streamer, Sochi Gree, said that I think was very, very wonderful, in that even if it takes 10 years, the time will pass regardless. Let today be the day that you put things into motion, the day that you started things. And don't assume that you would have known better had you started earlier. Really, we are blessed with our opportunity and chance to make waves and actions today. So I guess letting go of that has been interesting for me. I'm just happy to be here. Ding, 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 10 minutes.